Welcome to the September Living Show. I'm Gary B.
And I'm Terry D.
This is the show for us 50-plus and baby boomers, for active seniors and the not-so-active as well.
And for you younger caregiving heroes and family decision makers out there, too. Get the answers you need. Enjoy great guests, including authors, national experts on travel, shopping, aging in place, health and fitness,
family, finance, legal issues, veterans, the economy, home and garden, and sports. Hey, we always have fun covering topics of the past, present, and future.
We are here for you to have fun, but also be helpful as we can in addressing your personal and family concerns.
September Living, the fun, informational resource you can trust. We're happy to have you with us today. Sit back and enjoy the September Living Show.
Gary B., we have got some exciting stuff happening today for sure.
Well, we had a show several weeks ago, I guess it's been now, a young lady from OASIS Connection and National Technology Training Program.
Easy
hello.
For you to say.
Whoa, hello. But anyway, Amy was with us back a couple weeks ago and with OASIS, and we wanted to bring her back. Amy VanDeVelde. VanDeVelde. She did a super job, I thought, in our conversations, and we got a lot of nice feedback. But she not only came by herself, Terry D., she brought a couple people with her.
She brought some friends.
And then also we're going to have an individual that's going to be calling in probably the fourth segment of the show here today on September Living. So I guess without further ado, Amy VanDeVelde, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good to see you both again.
You as well. It was a great time that we had last time, and a lot of great information for OASIS. And I guess before we even get into the show, let's refresh our listeners a little bit on what OASIS is all about, Amy.
Sure. OASIS is a nonprofit that is at the national level, and we are committed to lifelong learning. And there are many ways to achieve lifelong learning through OASIS and on your own, wherever you are in the country. But my primary role is to head up the technology training arm, the OASIS Connections program. And what I thought would be really fun would be to bring some of an instructor and also some students and have them talk about their experience. Because it's one thing for me to talk about facts with everyone, but it's another thing to hear what it's really like to teach technology to digital newcomers. So we aren't always talking about older people, although on September Living we are. But sometimes in connection settings, we're in public libraries where people might not be 50 yet, but they are seeking digital literacy skills. And so I'm very proud to have brought, I think, my longest standing OASIS Connections instructor, Don Francois, and two of his students who are going to talk about their experience in the classroom. But first, I was going to tell you some new information that's been released since the last time I was here from the Pew Internet and American Life study. John Horrigan is one of the leading researchers on the Internet and broadband usage in the United States. And he recently surveyed people over 65 who are online. So I think last time I was here, I probably told you that we've reached the point of 56% of people over 65 being online. Does that sound familiar?
It does.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's over half the people. But what he did was survey them and ask them if they're doing everything they want to do online. So think about if Connection started 14 years ago. 14 years ago, what were you guys doing online?
Nothing.
Seriously?
Well, probably, very little. I mean, there wasn't as much, that you can do today. And
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's so many more options that what he found was that over 50% of those folks were not doing everything that they want to do. And in addition, we still have that other 44% that are not doing anything online. So that's 90% of people over 65 not doing all that they want to do.
And I'm curious too, Amy, we joke about things like, well, I've got to get my son or my daughter or, somebody really young to program the VCR. We used to joke about that all the time. Because you'd always see the light blinking or what have you.
Wow.
But the fact is that technology really touches on so many different aspects, not just the internet and the computer. But there are so many different products now, have technology in them.
They do. And I mean, in your line of business, there's many, many things that are coming to market or are new to market, and people don't know how to adopt them. Now, if they're in a situation where they can't get out of the house, who's going to be the person that goes out and gets that information? It's probably going to be their caretaker. Yeah. So caretakers may be people that are in Don's classes and my other instructors throughout the country. So all of us are scrambling to get the information we need and to find. The other thing I told you last time was people will only use technology if it's relevant to them, no matter what their age.
Right. That's Amy VanDeVelde, and again, she is with OASIS, and last time she was here nationally, we talked about all the percentages of individuals, the baby boomers that is, and what they do with the computers, and a lot of people don't even know everything that the computer can do. And I'm thinking, Amy, maybe they should say, okay, every week we're going to give you 3 new things that you might be able to, that you can do with the computer, that you probably never knew you could do it. Because again, my cell phone, I don't know everything that it does, and that holds true for a lot of the baby boomers. They don't know everything, so I think that'd be a great segment to have as well.
That would be a great segment, actually, and people like Don would have to teach me all the great tricks, because I'm a very good spokesperson, but I'm not the tech person. I have to say I turn that all over to my tech people throughout the country.
And before we go to break, Amy, why don't you introduce the 2 guests that we have in the studio with us today?
Sure, I will. Don Francois is St. Louis native, and his background in his career is in media, so he's having fun today being here in the studio. But he has taught almost every Connections class for the last 14 years. And then his student that's joining us in the studio is Kathy Shelton, and she is currently taking his Picture This photography class.
Ah, okay. Well, Terry D., I think the second segment here, we're going to have a lot of fun with these 2 individuals because, as she had mentioned, or as Amy had mentioned, Don comes from the KMOV, long time ago. I shouldn't say it. That doesn't sound nice, but to the listeners out there who are familiar with St. Louis, the call letters KWK, KMOX, KMOV. A lot of the individuals are, we're going to reminisce here a little bit here on September, living here on the second segment.
Well, that'll be fun, and I'm anxious to learn what Kathy's learned. I'm sure we're going to be able to learn a lot as to what Don knows, and I'm always up for learning about technology. We use it in everything. We got to learn about it.
Yeah, we have to learn about it, and that's what our show is trying to do today, is to kind of introduce a lot of the things that maybe the computer does, and a lot what OASIS can help you and your loved ones with out there in the years as you kind of grope into the latter years of your life. But there's so much more to do out there. So that's Terry D. I'm Gary B.
And we're back. We've got some guests here in the studio with us. Amy, it's great that you've brought a couple of friends here. We'd love to learn more about what Don, your main instructor, your longtime instructor.
He is my longest-standing instructor, and he precedes me in the program. He's been here 14 years. I've only been with OASIS Connections for 3 years. So frequently, I have the pleasure of getting emails from Don where he's correcting me about something historically that I didn't quite get right. So Don Francois has been teaching technology classes pretty much since he retired. He started off teaching for SeniorNet, which is another digital literacy training program for seniors. And I will let Don start talking about, he's a wonderful storyteller, and he has probably run into just about every technological challenging situation you can.
How's he with iPhones?
He's good with iPhones.
That's fantastic. We need to talk, Don.
Yeah, Don Francois, again, is part of the guest here with OASIS, and the studio here. There's a few individuals that were running around that used to be on the radios and that are still on the TV segment, and so Don had a lot of fun running into some of those individuals. But Don, welcome, and appreciate the opportunity. And I guess your title today is teacher.
I'm not sure what my title is.
Tell us again your background. Amy has said a few things.
Well, I've been teaching, like Amy said, for 14 years, and it's been great fun. It's a volunteer job, And a couple of advantages of volunteer jobs is I never worry about taking a pay cut or getting laid off.
That always works out well. And again, the September Living listeners out there, naturally, they a lot of times the people will say, you know what, I've led my life, and now I'm just going to go coasting, and I really don't need to learn anything new.
We do get some people like that. Now, when I first started teaching, seniors at that time, very few of them had computers, and they didn't want one. But that's all changed in the last 14 years. And at the beginning, we taught many courses on introduction to computer, which was like, how do you turn it on, and introduction to internet. But now we've progressed to where we're teaching more advanced courses, and thanks to OASIS and their staff, we have some really good training manuals which have been generated within OASIS. And we get lots of compliments on how good our manuals are. The students get the manual to keep their notes, and they're always very impressed with them.
Don, how do you go about, you'll get a student, I'm sure. My parents were, especially my mom, when she would look at some technology, she would always be afraid that she was going to break something. Do you get students that feel that if they touch something, they don't know anything about it, that they're going to render it never to work again?
You must have been reading my mind. I was just going to talk about that because that is the common the thing that the seniors are afraid. They're afraid of two things. One, they're afraid they're going to break their computer. Two, they're afraid that they're going to get charged for something that they didn't want. And those fears are easily overcome. I tell them, unless you physically throw the mouse at the computer, hit it with a baseball bat, or dump your coffee into it, you cannot damage your computer from the keyboard or the mouse.
I'm sure there's times that people want to do that, though.
Right. They all, from time to time, I have too. But they might render it inoperative, but it's not going to break it. And the other thing that I can assure them of, if you don't give a person your credit card number, there is no way that you can ever be charged for anything. Well, that kind of gets them over those two fears.
So they don't buy into the Vulcan mind meld or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And one thing it's done for me is, as we've progressed, like when I first started, there was no such thing as iPads, iPhones. Well, it's encouraged me personally to get those devices and learn about them so that I can now teach them. And within the last 2 years, I guess, I've advanced. I'm teaching iPad classes now. And I just got a new Android phone, so I probably will be able to. But the tablets are somewhat similar. You know, you see an Android tablet and an iPad, there's enough similarities that you can figure it out.
And Don, are you finding that with a lot of these devices that are coming out, that they're making them more user-friendly or not?
Well, they say they are. And one of the fallacies is that the people will come in and they say, My daughter bought me an iPad and wanted me to use it because she said she understands that they're very easy to use. Well, that's not necessarily so that they're so much easier than a desktop. They just have different qualities and different uses, but they can learn to use either one. A lot of times people will come into my class and say, I don't think I'm going to be able to learn this. Said, my grandson has been trying to teach me, and I just don't learn anything. I said, you're absolutely right, because there's several things. Your grandson does not know how to teach seniors, and it's a completely different technique. Your grandson is only interested probably in showing grandma how fast and how smart he is, and you're not going to learn anything from that. Right. And she said, well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. That is Don Francis with OASIS. He is the teacher today. And Don, you brought a student along, and introduce our student here right before we go to break here.
Okay, yes, I did. She just finished my class yesterday. We had a 5-lesson class on using Picasso, which is a picture management program. And her name is Kathy, and she's one of my 2 best students. Well, actually, there were 2 in the class. and I like teaching small classes. I like that much better than, I think we do a better job with fewer people than if we have large people. large classes.
Very good. We're going to be letting Kathy Shelton kind of do a little bit of, I guess, what she thinks about the teacher, and get some response here.
Evaluation time, huh?
What do you think about that? It'll be pretty cool, Terry D.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, before we get to Kathy and talk more about her background with OASIS, we are in the studio with several individuals from OASIS Connections. We're broadcasting out of the St. Louis here today, and basically we have Amy VanDeVelde, and she is naturally the national technology, I can't say that word today for some reason, technology training program director, and along with her, she brought the teacher, Don Francois is naturally with us, and the student, Kathy Shelton. And Don, before we went on the break, you talked a little bit about your student, and I'll let you do the introductions here with Kathy and have a little conversation there with her.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, as I said, she just finished my Picasso class, which is 5 lessons. It teaches the students how to manage, catalog, organize, manipulate, share their digital photos on their computer. Because most people start out, they've got 1,000 pictures on their computer. They don't know where they are. They don't know how to find them or what to do with them. Well, this is a very user-friendly program, and it's the program or the class that I think is my favorite class to teach, because we get really good students. They're not total beginners, they're computer literate, and Kathy is a perfect example of that. So it was a pleasure to have these 2 ladies in my class.
So Kathy, can you tell us a little bit about the teacher here?
Okay, I was just very impressed with Don's knowledge, and you can tell that he's been teaching for a long time and that he's very patient with everybody. I like the way he does everything step by step, and I might even take the class a second time, because there's a lot of little bits of information that he throws out to us that, besides what's in the book, that I can grasp and use, and just simple things that I didn't realize just by working on the computer on my own. And at first I was really concerned about getting all my pictures organized, because like you said, there's thousands of them. And I've really got a little bit of a handle on it now, and I'm actually thinking about taking the class again to kind of pick his brain with it. And I really consider myself to be what I call a technophobe. So this has helped me a lot, and just learning to take the baby steps, and he's got the great patience to deal with that.
So Kathy, for our listeners out there, what are some of the things that you were apprehensive about before you started Don's class, but once you got into it, you realized, well, that was worrying for nothing?
Well, the book outlines everything step by step, and when you look at it as a whole, which is a bad habit that I have, that you look at too much at once and it breaks it down into smaller pieces, and you just learn to work with it a little bit at a time.
So it's eating the elephant, a bite at a time, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but there wasn't anything that you went into the class, you were just concerned, apprehensive about fear of technology, and then realized, oh, that was silly. I didn't realize how easy that really was, and I should have never been so fearful of it. Because I think a lot of our listeners may feel that way, but hearing from you as a testimonial that, hey, I too had those concerns, but really now they weren't as bad as I thought they were.
And I think Don made a really good point that someone older is a lot more patient than a younger person. And, I thought I was going to have to wait for my grandson to teach me everything, but Don helped a lot.
You'd wait a long time for that, wouldn't you?
I don't know. He's 10. He's taught me a few things already.
And you ended up 32 years with Walgreens. Did you have any kind of technology positions at Walgreens, or was this all brand new for you?
Well, I had a little bit of experience with computers, and eventually the registers all became computerized, which was a little bit of slow learning for me because I was not wanting to learn any of the technology, but you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that comes into play there. And naturally, Amy VanDeVelde is with us, too. She is the coordinator, the training coordinator. And overall, when you hear what Kathy has to say, naturally, the jury is still out on the grade Don Francis is going to be getting here. But the point is, Amy, you look forward to hearing testimonials from individuals like this.
I love to hear testimonials, but if I can't get testimonials out of people, my great instructors across the country who are very committed to surveying our people and make sure that at the end of every class or sometimes in the middle of the last class that they survey people. So because people like Don who are conscientious want to know how they did and what their students thought, but also at a national level, I want to know. AT&T and the CEA Foundation want to know who we're reaching. But also our OASIS Center in St. Louis says, wow, Don's trained this many people and these people are all happy and people are always writing comments. I'm so happy that I took this class. And that comes from our founder's K-12 background. You don't just teach it, you also evaluate and make sure that you're actually teaching what you meant to teach.
Now, Terry D., did you know there was an organization out there like OASIS that helps the senior citizen?
Well, I'm going to have to say yes, I was aware, but not, terribly far in the past. I mean, I've become very familiar with OASIS with what I do, knowing what they do, and they're such a great organization, and I love the fact that they're getting people more comfortable with things that they really shouldn't be fearful of.
And Don Francis, again, being part of the teacher aspect of it, I know you had mentioned that it's easier for somebody at similar age to teach individuals because, again, a great little scenario that you had mentioned is that the young kids are just trying to show off when they show grandma something, but an individual in the same age, or near the same age at least, can really be helpful.
Yeah, well, I think, being at my age, I can teach a range of, anywhere probably from 40 on up. I wouldn't be qualified to teach college students and high school students because their brains work so much faster, and I would be way too slow for them. Because to be an instructor for seniors, number one qualification is patience. And you never want to underestimate what your students have learned from you. If I could give you a quick example, I had a man who was 93. He had been a carpenter all of his life, and he had a stroke, and he lost the use of his right hand, which was his sawing hand. So he was in the class. I asked him, why are you in this class, George? And he said, my wife wants me out of the house. Well, he had never had any computer experience prior to that. And one thing, this was an intro to computer class. One of the things that we teach him is how to play solitaire because it's such excellent practice for using the mouse. And at the end of the 6-week class, George came in, and he was just beaming. I said, George, why are you so happy? He said, well, I got up this morning, I turned on my computer. He said, I opened Solitaire, and I played it, and I beat it. Now, that's probably all he got out of that class, to be able to do that. But he was extremely happy that he had
good for him
had done that. Now, I didn't mention, but I've taught many classes. Just to give you a rundown of the classes that we have Intro to Computer, Intro to Email, Introduction to Internet, Safety and Privacy Online, eBay, Facebook, Google, Wellness on the Internet, Microsoft Office, which includes Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, mobile technology. Like I told you, I'm now teaching the iPad, and some hobby-related subjects. So then there are more subjects than that. One program that OASIS has, it's not in the technology, but it's a tutoring program. And I hear people all the time just raving how well satisfied they are at being able to help these kids with their reading. So, and that's a huge program that OASIS has.
That is Don Francis. He is the teacher at OASIS Connections here in the St. Louis area, and alongside is Amy VanDeVelde, and also the student Kathy Shelton is with us as well. And Terry D., I think we're going to be in the next segment. We're going to jump on the phone lines.
I'm ready. I think we've got another student, I believe, that's going to be calling in here. So
tell
we're
us.
going to get to learn more about what they they know.
Tell us a little bit, Amy, concerning Valerie here.
Yeah, Valerie Tolliver is another student of Don's. She was in the class with Kathy, and they were both very enthusiastic, and Kathy is great at telling her story, and she's a former teacher, so she knew about OASIS through the tutoring program. Didn't know we taught technology.
There we go. How about that? We're going to be getting on the phone lines. And where's Valerie calling from?
Valerie is calling from her car in between appointments because she was really bummed she couldn't join us in studio.
I'm sure she is. And she didn't get a chance to meet us, Terry D.
She didn't, but you know what? She's using technology to talk to you. And so we're proud of her.
Terry D, you're pulling it all over the place. That's Terry D. I'm Gary B. Stay tuned a lot more with September Living.
And we're back. Gary B., I know there's a lot that we've covered here with all this technology, and I'm so excited to hear about our next student, but I want to make sure everybody knows that they can learn more about OASIS. Go to SeptemberLiving.com's website, click on our radio tab up in the right-hand corner, and there you will find information. You can reach out to Amy VanDeVelde, who's the national... I always mess up the title, but
I'm the National Connections Manager. That's fine.
You're the person. You're the person that they need to talk to. So, without further ado, Amy, I know that we've got another one of your students.
I have another of Don's students, Valerie Tolliver, and she is interested to talk about what her experience was. And so, Valerie, why don't you go ahead and talk about what you were thinking when you signed up for your first OASIS technology class?
Well, I was familiar with OASIS tutors because I'm a former teacher, and I knew we had tutors in our building working with the children, but I had no idea that they had classes. And so when I began to have more time as I cut back on my hours, I had more time, and I was looking for a way to get involved in the community and stay active. And so somebody mentioned to me that they were riding their bike with an OASIS group. It was like a bike club. And so I said, well, tell me more. And so based on the information that she gave me, I got onto the website. I saw all these classes that they offered in all different kinds of things, history and architecture, archaeology. It was just amazing. But the thing that really drew my interest was the technology classes. So I started off with a class learning how to set up photos in albums, and it was using a program called Picasa. And I really was hesitant because I thought I'm going to be the computer illiterate in the class. I'm going to feel intimidated to ask questions. But I actually got in there and felt just the opposite. My class teacher was Don, and he was just amazing at making us feel comfortable, and I never felt uncomfortable asking a question. And in fact, I oftentimes had to ask the same question over and over, and Don simply found different ways to answer the question with patience and with knowledge. His knowledge is incredible.
That's great. Thanks, Valerie, for sharing your experience. And I think that you've done a really wonderful job of encapsulating what the key parts are to the Connections teaching method, and that is a patient teacher and repetition when necessary, because sometimes we need more than one way to hear it so that we can figure it out. So I will let you go so you can get to your appointment, but thanks so much for joining us by phone.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. That was Valerie Tolliver, and again, she is a student of Don Francis, the teacher here with OASIS Connections. And Don, talk a little bit about Valerie.
Well, Valerie was one of the two students. Kathy was the other one, and I can't say enough nice things about both of them because they were both very computer literate. Valerie actually brought her laptop, and she did the course on her laptop because that's where she had her pictures. And some of the students do prefer to do it that way, but I couldn't ask for, if I had all students like those two, it'd be great. But most of the students are great, so they're excited to learn, and they're learning new things, and just takes a lot of patience.
That's part of the fun, and Kathy Shelton is the other student that Don was referencing to, and Kathy, when you talk about we talked to Valerie, and I guess you can kind of say the same things that she said about Don and OASIS as well.
Yes, he's just very patient, like she said. He explained everything in different ways. You could tell that he really knew how to teach. That's another reason why I was considering taking the class again, to kind of pick his brain a little bit more, because he always added extra things for us to learn also, and sometimes they were just simple things that I didn't know before.
Right, yeah, that works out. And Terry D, the OASIS Connections program is just, a lot of people probably don't even know it exists out there, and it's just so vital in nowadays with technology.
The way people, communicate anymore, Gary B., there's so many different ways that, I would encourage anybody that's listening that has any reservations, go through it. Go through one of these classes. When you, in the end, they'll be able to communicate more. Maybe they're concerned they don't know how to text, or maybe they don't know how to send emails. They've never worked on computers before. Their job didn't require it in the past, or what have you. But they could be doing that now.
Right, and Amy naturally is with us here, and technology manager, and basically, Amy, individuals may be saying, well, I don't know if I can afford that.
Yeah,
touch upon that.
There's an affordability issue, but I think that's shifting a lot, and part of it is due to the number of boomers that are aging in, and their need to read bigger text. And what Don's story about the man who didn't have use of his dominant hand anymore, that's an accessibility issue. And technology is changing the game completely on what people are able to do and how they're able to age in place. That doesn't necessarily mean a smartphone or a tablet, but it can. And so one thing that people all over the country can do is go to our website and download our free and mobile accessibility book. I wish I were in every city in the country, because these classes are necessary everywhere, but I'm not. So you can come to our website, get that free book to help you see and hear smartphones and tablets better, but then be paying attention to what things could help with any chronic disease you might have, or anything that you might help you age in place. And I am heading to Las Vegas next week to speak at Super Mobility, which is the Wireless Association's big conference about how technology assists in helping people with different mobility issues or accessibility issues.
Yeah, and Terry D, they can go to our website to get the information that Amy just spoke about, SeptemberLiving.com. Click on that radio tab and be able to get that the free information, and I'm sure they can download it, right?
They can. You do need to be able to download. And the other thing I would say is that Don pointed out what our founder had at her heart, which was lifelong learning. When I brought up that we were doing iPads, I remember Don was like, I don't know if I'm going to do iPad classes, Amy. I'll keep going with whatever. And then he called me back and he said, I've been thinking about buying one. And then he did. And he's now teaching iPad classes, and that's all within the last 2.5 years. So lifelong learning is essential for everyone. It doesn't have to be with technology, but that's what we're featuring today.
As we wrap up the show here today, Amy, what would you like to leave the September Living listeners with concerning OASIS Connections?
I just want everyone to know that if you think that you can't do something with technology, chances are that you actually can. And if you can find a patient teacher, and we'd love it if it was an OASIS Connections class, but if it's not, librarians are well known for their patients. So head to your public library. And I fully believe what Don said. Training is often best for seniors done by seniors or people who are at least middle-aged, but there are those rare children who have legendary patients and are natural teachers, and they do a great job as well. So,
Amy, appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me back.
Very good, very good. And Don Francis, the teacher, appreciate you coming in and sharing all of your information and background as far as with the students as you've talked about today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Very good. And Kathy Shelton, you want to go ahead and give Don a grade here now?
I'd give him an A+.
A+, there you go.
Thank you, Kathy.
And that's why you have that apple that you just gave him, too. Apple for the teacher. Well, Terry D, what a show that we've had here today speaking about OASIS Connections, and individuals out there, the baby boomers really need to look into it more.
Well, they do. It's a great resource for them. and it's right there at their fingertips, and they'll learn more from it. And I just want people to know, yeah, it's okay to be apprehensive, but going into this, you'll find that most of your apprehensions are really, there's nothing to be concerned about in the end.
You're exact.
Especially when you have great teachers like Don Francis.
Very good, very good. The teachers in the house here. You're